Hello, it's Peter here from Malton College, Brickwork Department, and welcome to what is my first screencast. This will allow me to explain the process for developing an Excel spreadsheet that we can use to calculate bricklaying materials and costs, whilst at the same time allowing you to see the screen and the process I'm following in order to develop that spreadsheet. We're going to start off quite simply, and we're going to develop a spreadsheet that will allow us to calculate the quantities of bricks, sand and cement to build a half brick wall, and some costs associated with the purchase of the materials to build that wall. We've made a few assumptions on the page overleaf, which is our wall is going to be 3.590 metres long, so 3,590 millimetres, 1,500 millimetres or 1.5 metres high. It's a half brick wall, so we do know that there are 60 bricks per metre squared in a half brick wall. We're going to be using a mortar mix at a ratio of 1 to 5, that's 1 cement to 5 sand, and because it's a fairly small job, we're going to buy the sand, or we're going to, for this particular exercise, we're going to cost the sand as it being purchased in 25 kilogram bags. We won't need a massive amount. Cement, as we know, is in 25 kilogram bags delivered, and we're assuming on the mix that we're planning on using that we will get approximately 130 bricks per bag, per 25 kilogram bag. The prices are recent prices that we've paid for materials. Clearly they'll fluctuate, but once you've set up your spreadsheet, you can change these as prices move over the coming months and years. So it's a starting point to give us the framework for this spreadsheet. So let's get into the spreadsheet through Microsoft Excel, and this is how you will access it, that green X, and you click on that and it's going to open up a significant number of options for you within the Excel workbook gallery. The only one I'm interested in today is this Excel spreadsheet, top left here, and it is highlighted. I'm going to choose that one down in the bottom right and it will open up for me. If you can just bear with me now while I just try and make the viewing a little bit easier. What I am going to do is just increase the size of those columns by dragging along through the top row and just grabbing one of those lines and extending it, and that will extend them all. Look, okay, and I can adjust these as we go. I'm going to increase the font size to 14, that'll make it a little bit easier. And this little feature here is useful, wrap text. That means if I write something in a box, rather than it disappearing under the next box, if it's a bit too big, it will just increase the depth of the box I'm writing and allow all of the text to remain visible. So there we go. I'm not overly concerned with the appearance of this workbook. I'm interested in the functionality. We can make it look, far more appealing at another time. But let's just understand the formulas that sit behind doing what we need it to do. And then finally, before we start, I'm just going to drag in this that we saw with the assumptions. We can refer to some of these. There's quite a lot of information on there. Won't form part of the finished spreadsheet. But it will help us as we move through. Okay, so here we are, half brick wall with a length and a height clearly written, so we've no problems. If it's not clearly written, you'll scale it off the drawing, or you may be measuring, an opportunity to build a wall in situ and not have a drawing to work from. But as long as you have a length and a height, we're in a really good place to start. So let's look at setting this up. Dimension. I'm going to use a little bit more writing than I normally would, just because it will provide some reference points for you when you revisit this in order to complete and develop your own spreadsheet. So Dimensions, we're looking at meters. I'll try and identify the values that we're using as we go along. So we've got the LENGTH, the length, and we've got the height. Okay, they're going to be given in meters. And if we want to use a number for calculating purposes, then it needs to be in a standalone box. Okay, it can't be mixed in with text. So whereas I could have written length and then put the number in here, I then wouldn't be able to use that number as part of the calculation that I wish Excel to carry out on my behalf. So the length of the wall is 3.590, and I've typed that in, as you can see, at the top there on the left in the relevant box. It's actually in column B and row 2. I'm now going to type in the height, 1.500. This will default to its current settings. It says the same number, it's just removed the 2 zeros, but 1.5 meters or 1,500 millimeters. What I'm now going to do is I need to find the area of this wall. I'm going to multiply the length by the height, and the way we do that in Excel is to always start with an equals in the box where we would like the answer to be shown, and I'm going to click on the length number, which will come up as B2, and then multiply it by the height, which is in B3. Now, the multiplication symbol isn't the X as you will be used to on your calculator. It is the small star that sits above the 8 on your keyboard. That's the small star that sits above the 8 on your keyboard. So that's the multiplication sign. I click in the 1.5, press return, and I have 5.385 meters squared. Okay. Just going to put in another column now. Bricks per metre squared. On a half brick wall, we know there are 60 bricks per metre squared. If I was building a 1 brick wall, I would place in that column 120. There'd be 120 bricks per metre squared. A cavity wall with 100 millimetres, 102.5 millimetre width of brickwork and a cavity, and then the blockwork would have 60 for the half brick wall and 10 for the blocks. There's 10 metres squared. 10 blocks per metre squared, 5 tie lines per metre squared. So once we have the area in metres squared, some of the calculations are fairly straightforward for us. So bricks per metre squared are 60. Our area in metres squared is 5.385 metres squared. So just typing in there the initial number of bricks that I'm going to need. It's not the number of bricks I'm going to order. This will be the exact number of bricks to build the wall as the size you see on the screen in front of you. But if I just ordered that many, I probably wouldn't have enough because there's going to be some wastage. There's going to be some damage to some of those bricks, I'm sure, when they're delivered, and there'll be a number that I'll just put to one side or I'll use for cuts and without using a full brick. So I'm going to have to add a little bit on, but to add a little bit on, I need to know what I actually need to start with. And this is quite easy now. So the initial number of bricks will be the area, so 5.385 metres squared, and we know there's 60 bricks per metre squared. So if I start off with the equals, 5.385 metres squared times the symbol above the 8, the 60, I need 323.1 bricks. Clearly I need 324 bricks. I can't order 0.1 per brick, but I need it. So let's have a look now. We're going to add on a little bit for wastage. Sorry. Okay, a usual amount of waste on a small project such as this would be 3%, 4%, maybe topping out at 5%. I'm going to allow 5% for wastage. So what I'm looking to do is to increase that 323.1 with an additional 5% of bricks that I'm going to order. And the way I would do that is to, again, start with an equals, go to the initial number of bricks required and click on that, and then multiply. Again, we should be familiar with that star above the 8 on your keyboard. And the way I will place in 5%, which is what I want to increase my initial brick number by, is to multiply it by itself, 1, and then 0.05. 0.05 is 5%. Okay, if I wanted 8%, it would be 1.08. If I wanted 20% VAT, for instance, we add VAT onto plenty of product, that would be 1.20, 1.20. Okay, so times it by itself and then the percentage number that you're after, and that will take my 323.1 up by 5%. So I actually need to order 339.255. Now I can imagine if I went into my local builders merchants, they'd laugh me out the door if I ordered 0.255 of a brick. So we're always going to round up, okay? We need that 0.255, so we'll round up. And so bricks to be ordered, I'll just put that in there in that column, and this will be a slightly wider column, we'll just increase that. And the way I'm going to ensure that I end up with a full number that is meaningful to others, I'm going to take this figure here and I'm going to round it up. Now you're going to say, well, I could just type in 340 in there. If you do that, the 340 won't be derived from these other calculations that have moved along, and wouldn't change if you were to change these here. So let the program do the hard work for you. And the way we will do that is we will place in here equals, and we type in this time round up. We're typing in an instruction, and as you can see, as you're typing it in, Excel is predicting what it is it thinks you're going to ask for. So we type in round up. We then put a bracket to signify a slightly different calculation to the instruction, and I want to put a number in. Now the number that I want to round up is this number, 339.255. So I'm just going to click on it. Okay, and as you can see, it's clicked, it's in column F and row 2. I'm then going to put a comma in, and the digit that then follows the number that I want to round up, i.e. the F2, and the comma, if I want to just round up to a full number and round up, not down, is always 0. Okay, so I'm just going to type in 0 there, close the brackets off, and that gives me 340. Okay, let's just do that again. Equals, round up, brackets, click on the number I want rounding up, comma, 0, and close the brackets. 340. So the bricks I need are 340. That's allowing 5% for waste and that little bit of additional just when we round up from the fraction. Okay, so let's look at sand. So the sand required, how are we going to work this out? Well, this one is very easy. If we can look at our rule of thumb here, our assumptions, and this one tends to be fairly consistent. 1 kilogram of sand will lay 1 brick. So 1 kg of sand, let's just put it up here, will lay 1 brick. So kgs of sand required. Well, if 1 kilogram of sand will lay 1 brick, once I know the number of bricks, I'll know how many kilograms. Now, as you can see up here, that is 340. I don't want to just type in 340 here. I want to take that number and use it. So I don't want this to be a standalone, because if this number changes because I change this over here, ultimately that number will change there. I need it to automatically change this number here as well. So this is really easy. I put in the equals, click it on the 340, and that's it. Press return. So if this number changes, then this will change also. We'll look at a few examples by changing the numbers a little bit later on, just so you can see how everything flows through from this starting point up here through to the end calculation. So we need 340 kilograms of sand, and we know that sand comes in 25 kilogram bags. Okay, so bags are 25. In fact, let's just put that so we can use this. Bags are 25 kg. So if I put the 25 in there, so the bags required would be the total kilograms, 340, divided by, remember, the divided by is that / 25, what's in a bag, equals 13.6. Okay, we already have an allowance for a little bit of waste, because we're calculating this against the increased brick number with the waste attached to that already. Now clearly again, I can't order 13.6 bags, I need that to be rounded up. So if I go over here, sand, or let's put bags of sand to be ordered. Okay, and I'm going to do the same as I did with the bricks. I'm going to round that 13.6 up, so round up, brackets, the number I want rounding up, comma, and naught to signify the instruction for rounding up, and close the brackets. Now that should be simple enough. That should take us, if we're right, to 14. Perfect. And then finally, let's look at cement. Okay. Cement is ordered in 25 kg bags. Okay. And we know that 1 bag will lay, so the mixed ratio we're doing it, 130 bricks. So there are assumptions taken from over here. So if we were to look at the number of bricks required, so bricks required is the same as up here. So this is the 340 bricks that we're ordering, and we want the mortar or the cement in sufficient quantity to build that. So bricks required equals, again I don't want to type that in, I want to take this figure up here and just make sure it's reflected here. Okay. So let's replicate that there. 1 bag will lay 130 bricks. Okay, are you with us so far? Good. So what we're now going to do is work out the number of bags required. and that's quite simple. We will use the equal sign. We will take 340 and divide that by 130. And that is 2.6 and a whole raft of numbers afterwards. Again, we're going to round that up. So let's just do that again so you can see where we got that from. We took the 340 from up here and made it equal. One bag will lay 130. If we change the gauge, if we change the type of brick and we need more or less, if we're not going to lay 130, we want to lay 150 or 110, we would change this number here. So this would be 340, so equals 340 divided by the 130 and cement to be ordered. I'm just going to put 25 kg bags in there, and I'm just going to put also that in there just to keep it tidy. So now, if you remember, I want 2.61 bags. I can't order 0.61, so I'm going to round it up. Equals, round up, brackets, the number I want rounding up, and comma, 0, close brackets, 3. Okay, so we'll just do that one more time. Equals, round up, bracket, click on the number, comma, 0, close brackets, and then we're completed on the materials. Half brick wall, 3.590 metres by 1.5 metres high, with an allowance of 5% for wastage, requires 340 bricks, 14 bags of sand at 25 kilograms and 3 bags of cement. I'm very quickly going to whiz through the costs of materials based on the assumptions we have here. Okay, so bricks, sand and cement. Okay, so the quantity, bricks, equals 340. Sand equals 14 bags. Notice I'm just picking up the numbers that we've already calculated, and cement equals 3 bags. The cost for the bricks is £650 per 1,000. Okay. I'm going to put 600 in there. The cost for the sand in bags is £3.50, and the cost for the cement is £4.50. Now, if I highlight these here, so just click onto one and then drag down and right click, I will have some choices down here in the format cells. Okay, I'm just going to close that again and go back into it so you can see where we got that. I'm going to highlight those, right click, format cells, and if I go into currency and leave it at 2 decimal places for up to 99p, that will just turn that into pounds, okay, for us. So the actual cost calculations that I wish to work out, let's do the easy ones first. We want 3 bags of cement at £4.50 each equals 3 times £4.50, £13.50. Okay, just by clicking those. We want 14 bags of cement equals 14 times £3.50. And the bricks is just a little bit more challenging because the price we have, in fact I think I put that pricing wrong, it should be £650 a thousand, we said in the assumption over here, requires us to separate out one of the calculations. So what we're going to do is the equal sign, and I'm going to put a bracket in because I want this bit to work out first. I want £650, so C14, divided by 1,000, and close the brackets. So that's going to give me the price per brick. Okay, so I've taken the £650 per thousand, the £650 and divided by the 1,000 in the brackets. That is going to give me the price of one brick, and then I'm going to multiply it by the number of bricks required, the 340. And that will give me 221. Now what I also need to do here, let me just format those, format cells, currency, okay. Let's do this again, format cells, currency, okay, there we go. So this was equals 650 divided by 1,000 in brackets times 340. You can watch that back and see how it works. And then finally, what I want to know is the total cost for the materials for this job. And again, I will just format that, format cell, currency, so the box. There are a number of ways to do this. I can add these up through auto sum, or quite simply I can equals that plus the £13.50. There we go. So the materials for that job at the prices that we've assumed are £283.50, and the quantities of materials are listed down here. So if I make that visible, and I'll make this visible. Now, if any of these prices change, we can just change them within our costs here. So these are easily changed. If tomorrow you've got to pay £4.75 for your bag of cement, then just change that to £4.75. If your sand goes down to £2.90, let's hope, then you'll change that to £2.90. And the bricks, as I say, that can be a huge variation in prices of bricks. But what makes this very flexible for us, if I just make that blue, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so we can see. You can see the way this will work. If I have a wall that is a different size, assuming the prices are remaining fairly consistent, the only thing I ever need to change will be the length and the height. So if the length of the wall was 8 metres and the height of the wall was 3, by following through on this formula, what you will see is as we come out of that, every figure that we've worked on changes, including the quantities and the actual costs based upon the price for individual items remaining the same. Useful tool, I hope. Let's just put that back to where we were so it makes sense when we look at it again. 3.590, 1.5, and we're back there. Now I'm going to leave it at that. What we will do is we'll pick this up in a couple of weeks and we'll look at building in some additional materials. We'll look at cavity walling, we can look at solid walling, and we can start to look at how we can present this in a slightly tidier way so that it's meaningful. But most of the working out we can make invisible. Ultimately we're looking for to be able to input the length and the height in order to get a quantity of materials and the costs attached with those materials. So I hope you found this useful. Hopefully it wasn't too much, and hopefully you've just been sensible and done this in a number of sittings. But thank you, and we'll speak again soon, and I'll send the next slide out in a couple of weeks. Okay, take care, be safe. Cheerio.